Hi, welcome. Welcome to Books and Books in Coral Gables, and thank you for being here. Very exciting night here tonight. I am Alan Susser, and I love to cook, but I'll tell you what, we've got someone who teaches a lot of wonderful things, really has changed our world in cooking in a lot of fashions. Stephen Raichlen is a multi-award-winning cookbook author, cooking teacher, and syndicated food columnist. In July 1998, the New York Power publisher Workman published the Barbecue Bible, Reichlen's encyclopedia of grilling and barbecuing around the world. 4 years in the making, the Barbecue Bible featured more than 500 recipes, plus a cache on grilling, barbecuing, smoking, and other live fire cooking techniques. Raichlen was born in Japan and raised in Baltimore, Maryland, and educated at Reed College in Portland, Oregon, where he graduated Phi Beta Kappa with a degree in French literature. In fact, he won the Watson Foundation Fellowship to study medieval cooking in Europe. How cool is that? He currently lives in Coconut Grove, Florida, with his wife, publicist Barbara Selden. So tonight, he's going to be introducing his new book, Man-Made Meals. Stephen Raichlen brings men inside the kitchen, teaches them basic techniques, like knife skills, how to truss a chicken, shuck an oyster, crack an egg. He also employs the advice from well-known chefs and food writers like Jose Andres, Michael Pollan, Francis Melman, Mark Bittman, and more. Stephen tells men which tools they need, how to set up a bar, and overall, just how to be a hero in the kitchen, whether it is for your girlfriend, your wife, or your kids. And of course, there are over 300 recipes, including blowtorch oatmeal, fire-eating chicken wings, finger-burning lamb chops, mashed potatoes, 3 ways, and sweets like rum and Coke. Unbelievable. This is going to be exciting. So without further ado, I really will introduce, because we've got a great program, a lot of fun. And Stephen, if you would, please.
Thank you, Alan, and thank you all very much for coming. This is not your typical book signing here at Books and Books, and I've been on tour for 6 weeks now for the new book, and I got to tell you, it always feels like coming home to be one of the world's great bookstores, Books and Books. So, first of all, I have a confession to make. I did not want to write this book. The idea to write a book on cooking for men came from my publisher, the late publishing legend Peter Workman. We didn't have a meeting or a get-together for the 20 years that I've been at Workman Publishing when he didn't bring up the idea of a men's cookbook. I told him it wasn't for me. You know me, Peter. I need a book that involves exotic travel. I visited 50 countries on 6 continents to write Planet Barbecue. I like to dig deep into a subject, scour the back alleys and remote corners to tell the story of how food, history, and culture intersect. I also like racking up those frequent flyer miles. So one day I was meeting with Peter, and he kind of caught me off guard. How about staying home for once and writing a book from your office? Well, nobody was more surprised than I was when I agreed. There was just one problem. I had to figure out how to break the news to my wife, Barbara, because she likes to travel as much as I do. And the challenge became, how do you write a men's cookbook that will be more than a simple collection of recipes? Well, at the time, Barbara was reading a book called Thomas Jefferson's Creme Brulee about the 5 years that our third president spent as a diplomat in Paris. One night she said to me, you know, Julia Child wasn't America's first foodie. It was Thomas Jefferson. Well, that sure got my attention. She reminded me how Jefferson brought his head cook from Monticello, a slave named James Hemming, to Paris to apprentice with a French master chef. When Jefferson returned to the U.S., he brought back the first pasta machine ever seen here, the first truffles, the first Dijon mustard, the first champagnes, and cuttings for his fabulous garden. It was Thomas Jefferson who introduced to America macaroni and cheese, French fries, and creme brulee. Well, I got in touch with the author of this book, Thomas Jefferson's Creme Brulee. His name is Thomas Crowell, and I asked him to channel Thomas Jefferson for me. It was clear that Jefferson lived to eat. I dubbed him America's first food dude, and the book started getting interesting. So one of the features in the book is a series of interviews that are called Food Dudes. And for my choice of food dudes, I tried to pick men from all walks of life. They're actors, activists, bloggers, writers, scientists. We have millennials, we have boomers, we've got North Americans, Asians. Some of the guys have tattoos, and some of them have PhDs. Guys I knew personally, and I felt that had something important to say. A few of my food dudes are chefs, but most are not chefs, and most, like me, do not cook for a living. In this, they reflect my readers. The only requirement is a strong belief system and a passion for cooking. So I'd like to share a few points of wisdom from some of my food dudes. First up, Andrew Zimmern. As a guy, I'm lousy at expressing my feelings. Cooking is as touchy-feely as I get. From the actor Stanley Tucci. Spend money on your ingredients. If you skimp on the quality, you'll never get good results. From the food activist Michael Pollan. With an increasing number of women in the workforce, if men don't cook more, our kids will never know what a home-cooked meal is. From food blogger Paul Kita. 58% of women say their husbands cook better than they do. Men actually enjoy their time in the kitchen more than women do, and that's 82 to 72%. But it was the great Spanish chef Jose Andres who summed up the message of man-made meals the best. In order to lead the tribe, you have to be able to feed the tribe. According to my publishers, recipes are what sell my books. I like to call them sort of the Trojan horse of my books. But I would never write a cookbook or another cookbook if there weren't something new for me to learn to pass on to my readers. So listen up, guys. I'm going to give you the Men Who Cook Manifesto. So this book is based on 10 simple principles. Number 1, knowledge is power. The best way to eat well is to cook well, and the more you know about the basic ingredients and techniques, the better you'll perform in the kitchen. Number 2, guys live, in the best time in history to cook and eat well. Never have there been better ingredients from more geographically diverse sources at our metaphorical fingertips. Number 3, you don't need to know how to cook everything. Master a few iconic dishes and principles will serve you better than knowing every recipe in a food magazine. Number 4, we hunger for flavor. One of the biggest differences, I believe, between the way men and women cook is our attitude towards flavor. For most guys, bolder is better. And in the book, you will find a section called Flavor Blasters from A to Z, starting with anchovies, finishing with citrus zest, that will make your food explode in your mouth with flavor. Now, there's actually sort of a little corollary to this, and this is a word of warning. It's what I call the guy syndrome, and the guy syndrome goes something like this. If some is good, more is better. So if a recipe calls for 1 tablespoon of Tabasco sauce, automatically a half a bottle should be better. And if let's say, when you're smoking on your grill, if a recipe tells you to add 1 cup of wood chips every hour, what will most guys do? Add all 8 cups of wood chips the first hour. So sometimes more isn't always better. Okay, principle number 5 in the Men Who Cook Manifesto. how we cook matters as much as what we cook. Flames, smoke, sharp implements, blowtorches, alcohol, high-tech gear, power tools, and of course, alcohol. We guys love this stuff. So in writing the book, I kind of tried to show people how to cook with a showmanship, attitude, and edge. How to flirt with danger, but ultimately overcome it. We want what we eat to be good for us and for the planet. So sure, there's a time for nachos, but on a daily basis, I think most guys, I think everybody, wants to eat healthily and be respectful of the environment. So in the book, I've really tried to teach people how to shop locally, shop green, what kind of fish to buy, what kind of meat to buy, and how to make food choices in the market and at your stove and grill that will have a positive impact on the planet. By the way, if you think buffalo wings are great, wait till you try them smoke roasted with my Hellfire hot sauce. Principle number 7, we understand the importance of quality. Often the difference between a merely adequate dish and a masterpiece boils down to the raw materials. So I spent a lot of time in the book talking about how to buy olive oil, how to buy spices, all sorts of information on shopping. Whereas one sage observed, and I believe this is really great philosophy for today, it's better to eat prime, dry-aged steak once or twice a month than factory beef 24/7. Number 8, we know the value of money. Cooking needn't cost a fortune to ring up pleasure. Indeed, some of the greatest guy dishes like wings, brisket, short ribs, originated to make inexpensive cuts of meat palatable. So I've tried to show you how to extract the maximum flavor from the humblest cuts. However, there's a time when spending a little extra money will give you a great benefit, great dividends. That would be, for example, when buying a knife, you want to buy the best possible knife you can, dry-cured ham. Number 9, we appreciate speed and simplicity. Most guy food is simple, right? Steaks, chops, burgers. So I promise you, we'll keep it simple. However, sort of a paradox with men, that is, we like it simple 90% of the time until we like it complicated. And then when it comes to things like chili and barbecue sauce, if you haven't added at least 20 ingredients, you have fall short. Finally, you see the big picture. So I think when a lot of guys approach cooking, they think about a dish, but I try and sort of show guys how to cook a whole meal, how to conceive a whole meal from start to finish. The cocktails, the wine, the music, the choreography, even cleaning up makes a big difference. So this evening, I thought that we would put our money where our mouth is, and we would have the first Books and Books Iron Chef male cook-off competition. And where are our contestants, please? We have our contestants. So contestant 1, and I'd like you to come up and just say a few words about who you are and what you believe in with food.
Hello, everybody. My name is Irving Fields, and I am the general manager at the cafe here. But there's no prejudice involved here. And it's a pleasure. I know this guy for a long time. I've read all the books, and he's fabulous. This is my
Okay. So it's contestant number 1, right? You're going to take your station, correct? All right. Where is contestant number 2? Contestant number 2, Mark Trowbridge.
Hello, Mark. So, Mark, you are the director of the Coral Gables Chamber of Commerce.
That's right.
Do you want me to cut your tie off right now?
No, I'm going to tuck it.
Good. So that adds flavor, right?
It does. I'm going to tuck it.
Okay.
Stop
So
looking.
contestant number 2 and contestant number 3. Where's Ed? Ed Scales?
His honor.
A transplant from Key West, and you are a judge? Okay, wow.
But these are the real judges.
These are the real judges tonight.
Sweet, nice, kind.
And finally, and folks, this is a first. This has never happened. Contestant number 4, our very own Mitchell. Great. I'm so good. I'm just so excited. So, for this contest, we have a theme. Okay, and the theme is surf and turf. So every contestant is going to get some turf, and that's a New York strip steak. Well, I'll get into that. And some surf, that'll be shrimp. But we do have a non-meat eater in the group. So Mitchell has been presented with some tofu. Okay. Now,
Where are the tofu fans?
in my world, and there are some tofu recipes in the book, by the way, but in my world of barbecue, tofu's kind of a tough sell. So, I just want to outline the rules for you. Okay, so rule number 1 is try and keep all 10 fingers tonight. Okay? And rule number, anyone with fewer than 10 fingers at the end of the evening will be disqualified.
Whatever you started with.
Okay. Number 2, ideally there will be no burn marks on your forearms or your shirt. And you will have 15 minutes to do your preparation inside. And then because a bookstore is well equipped with an overhead sprinkler system, we decided to do the cooking outside tonight. And you will be judged by our distinguished panel of judges, whom I will introduce come time for the judging. You will be judged on, first of all, your presentation. Does it look good enough to eat? Second of all, your creativity. Did you combine the ingredients with that spark of genius? And third of all, the sheer deliciousness of what you made. So would someone in the front row be our timekeeper, 15 minutes? And I'm going to sort of wander and do a little commentary as we go. And then while they're cooking the food outside, I'd love to open the floor up to questions. Okay, so gentlemen, are you ready? Who's got a timer? Okay, 1, on your mark, get set. Oh, by the way, guys, here is your Iron Chef table. So you have spices and condiments. You can use any of the spices, soy sauce, sesame oil, olive oil. Here are your vegetable garnishes. You can heat it up with jalapeno, chilies, cilantro. So, on your mark.
What do you do with these?
Well, those are called bowls, Mitchell. Right, okay. On your mark, get set, go!
Go free run.
Okay, and I see Mark has made a bold move by removing the plastic wrap on his steak. Okay, and he's put in a bowl. Okay, I think we can clearly see. Okay, and Mitchell is taking a divide and conquer approach to his tofu. Okay. And let's see. Okay, so Ed is going for the bold flavors now. We have the bold flavors of Worcestershire sauce, liquid smoke. We have a couple of Weber kettle grills heating outside. Okay, and we've got some expert knifesmanship coming on this table. I think I see a little marinade in the works.
You betcha, baby.
We have a little barbecue sauce. I think Mitchell's going to attempt to kind of create that beefy outdoor flavor with barbecue sauce and soy sauce.
Thank you, baby.
And Irving has come up with a barbecue rub, and he's rubbing that meat, dare I say, with an unwholesome lasciviousness. Hi, everybody. If you just came, I think there are a few seats. We are watching four formidable male culinarians battle it out.
That's cool.
Okay. And in goes, what is that? Little red wine vinegar. We have a kebab coming up here. And I think if Michelangelo had worked in bamboo skewers, he couldn't have done as well.
You're fine. You're fine.
All right. Any suggestions for the contestants?
Stop while you're ahead.
Yeah. So, Mitchell, have you ever actually cooked before?
Eggs.
Eggs, okay. Well, that's good. And let's see. Ed is laying on. Yep. Do we have any advice or challenges for the contestants?
You say that now. It goes well with Tagamet.
Look like a lot of confidence going on. The others should be worried.
Hang on a second. Mitchell? We
Pepper's
just
over
have
with
to
that.
immortalize
Have you
this
done
for
with the
the
pepper?
for posterity.
He's like non-stop pepper.
That's what it is.
You can keep it and take it.
Please.
There we go. You know, the other thing is, you see how nicely everybody's playing so far. So there's no fight. Okay. And Irving is working quietly, but man, he is really pumping forward. Look at this. Now look at this turning action here. This is really massaging the flavors into the meat. Are you finding everything
I
you
just
need?
say keep it simple and flavorful.
Offhand, I would say this is ground white pepper, which is the active ingredient in sneeze powder. Do you want some of that since you're on a roll with peppers?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and we don't mean to alarm anybody, but time?
How's our time?
I'm ready for the grill. Keep it simple.
10 minutes and 20 seconds.
10 minutes, so 1/3 of your time is done. And what do you think? Do you think we should give extra points to the contestant that finishes first? No, we want to give them the full 15 minutes because, like Goethe said, art is long and life is short, right?
Love that technique.
Yeah, it's a roll with it, chef.
Well, Mitchell, that looks completely awesome.
I need 3 beers.
Well, hey, the champion of tofu, this is your opportunity. Okay. Great. We see some jalapeno chilies here to heat things up.
Hold on, look at that.
Yep. And by the way, I want you to notice how clean and neat each contestant is working, thereby that dispelling the myth that men are slobs in the kitchen.
I know. Those were jalapeno peppers.
And
Mitchell has made a bold move with the white pepper. Okay, and we see. Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. You ready? You want me to do these guys first?
Yeah. You're going to go over there. He's going to talk to them.
What was that?
And by the way, this is being live streamed. It's going right into the offices of the NSA.
Yes.
So we're giving them a lot of pleasure here. So Mitchell, tell us what you have going on here now.
It is a lovely shrimp and tofu mush.
Okay, shrimp and tofu mush.
It's really going to be delicious, just as I
I'll
like
tell you, it looks delicious.
Now-
And it is beautifully seasoned,
Yeah,
marinated, and
Right.
you were cooking with your eyes as well as with your taste buds. Good. Okay. And I think, is Ed looking for more pepper? I think maybe he...
Jalapeno there.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
this is going to be stir-fried out.
That's fine.
All right.
We have not specified a particular cooking method, so
Grilled.
it is fair game. Many of you know me from my barbecue books, but in fact, Man-Made Meal is as much about indoor cooking as outdoor cooking. Okay, so we have some scallions, and let's see, I think you're having a little steak with your black pepper tonight?
Exactly.
Okay, excellent.
Exactly.
A little vinegar to bring up the sharpness. And tell us about your marinade.
It's very, very Tums friendly,
Okay.
and it's essentially pick something that I haven't used on the steak and put it in there to try to get it all.
Okay, right. Okay, so you're going the sort of as, on the more is more premise.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
excellent. Great. Okay. Meanwhile, oh my goodness, hi. Look at it, he's so relaxed. He's thinking about the cocktail that would bribe the judges, right?
I'm actually thinking about eating Irving's meat.
Okay, so,
He did a nice job over there.
okay.
He did a really nice
Yeah.
job with his.
So what was it that
Seasoning.
Ono said the press wouldn't touch it? Right. Okay, so tell us what you have here.
So this is a lovely cut of meat here. And what I did was rub it with a little bit of this beautiful red paprika.
Okay, good.
And then at the same time, I put in some of the shallots
Yep.
and mushroom just to give it a little extra zest. And then with the shrimp, I did the red vinegar and put in some heat there with the habaneros.
Oh my gosh.
And turn it into a skewer.
And you made a kebab. Look at
Yes.
that. Beautiful kebab. And I noticed you covered the plate with plastic wrap so it would not stick to the plate. That was
That's exactly
very
right.
smart.
And also to hold additional red vinegar. What can I tell?
I can see I'm in the hands of seasoned professionals here. Let me scoot by you and
You
let's
betcha.
see what Irving has done here. Okay. Hi, and Irving he's so relaxed. You're done, right? You're ready? You were done 5 minutes ago.
Well, I believe in your philosophy of keeping it simple.
Keeping it simple.
I rubbed a lot of nice, coarse, kosher salt.
Okay,
All
good.
parts of massage it in
Okay,
with some olive oil and some Montreal steak seasoning,
Okay.
which is fabulous.
okay.
And a little more olive oil. The same thing on the skewers, and we'll see how it tastes.
That's fantastic. Okay, so it looks like we have one dish ready.
5 minutes.
5 minutes, gentlemen.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, so are you ready to roll here?
I'm ready, man.
Okay, you're ready to roll. Excellent. And Mitchell, are you ready to roll here? You're ready. Okay, all you need is a screaming hot heat. Man, that's going to blast. You know, I want to tell you, I actually love, many of you know me for my barbecue stuff, but I love tofu. And I eat tofu as often as I can. Yep.
Looks like you already ate it.
So humble, so humble. Okay. And how are we doing over here? Oh, I think on the contrary that you guys are probably going to be done before. You'll have a couple minutes because what we're going to do is you'll head outside. We have some chefs to help you grill everything up, and then you will work on a presentation. We have plates for them to present on because the judges will be grading on presentation as well. Okay. Okay. Anybody have any comments, suggestions?
Can they hold the most of that?
Yes, I think that's a great idea.
Okay, so Irving, since you're ready first, would you bring your masterpiece over, or is it
The
outside already?
masterpiece is heading outside along.
The masterpiece is on its way outside, so I
Along with
guess
Mark.
you will... Pardon me? Yes?
I wonder how many people are aware of the incredible irony of this competition. Because you're calling it surf and turf, and you gave tofu to Mitchell because he said he didn't eat meat. But he made the best tofu dish in the history of tofu. This is grilled tofu from Granny Feelgood. That's right. There's no better dish than tofu. So it's so funny that.
Well, you know, we
How many
march...
plants do you have in the audience?
We march into culinary battle with the tofu we have, not necessarily the tofu we want.
They're going to grill for it.
Okay, so it looks like you two gentlemen are done?
Yes.
Okay,
We are.
great.
We'll be in the
And
smoke
Mitchell
line.
is done. So, Mitchell is done. And Ed, how are you doing? And everybody, can we see Mitchell's? Will you show everybody Mitchell's dish, please?
Wait a minute, hold on. Let me get a picture of it. I always love to take a picture of a losing dish.
Okay, now wait a minute. No trash talk here, bud. Let's keep it. Okay. Okay. And how you doing, Ed? Okay, I don't mean to be. Okay, so what time is it now?
We got 2 minutes.
Folks, with 2 minutes to spare, the 4 contestants are done. So big round of applause. Big round of applause. Okay, I think, gentlemen, you're going to go outside now and supervise the preparation. Okay? And while, yeah, thanks. Thank you. While the contestants are cooking.
Wait.
Okay, everybody see?
We didn't see the. No.
Okay.
Last one.
Okay, we got to see the last one.
That one we didn't get. Parade it on there. Parade it.
Okay. Yeah, baby. Look at that.
Take a picture of Steve.
Here
What
we
you
go.
do is count the screen.
Okay.
Here we are. Right in the square. I'm going to show my Tyler screen.
Okay. Here, let's step back so everybody can see. Good. Okay. Great. And I want to compliment the contestants on how clean they left their work areas, too. Great.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So now, while we're waiting for the masterpieces to be cooked, does anybody have any questions either about man-made meals or pretty much anything? And like at the Harvard Business School, you'll be graded by your questions.
Nope, just a second.
Anybody?
So did you take special condiments to use, or
We sort of picked some expected condiments like salt and pepper and paprika, and then some unexpected condiments like.
God. What can I tell you? I did my best. I cooked what I would like to eat.
Okay, great question. Everybody have a question? Besides grilling, what is the most basic, essential cooking technique that every man should know? And I'm glad you asked that question because sort of the way I started this book after I had the food news was on the principle of what should every man know how to do, right? So every man should know how to shuck an oyster without poking a hole through his hand with a knife. Every guy should know how to cook a lobster, right? Because if you're at a party with mixed company and there's a live lobster around, you do not want to do a Woody Allen, right? And every man should know how to cook a steak, or 6, right? And every man should know how to brew up a kick-ass pot of chili. Every man should know how to shake a bar shaker with aplomb and expertise. Every man should have at least one fail-proof seduction chocolate dessert, and that would be the Belgian beer brownies at the end of the book. But to get back to your question, my wife says that I never answer questions. Just takes a while. I would say that the most important technique besides grilling is using a cast iron skillet, getting it screaming hot, so when you put the food in, you get a great sear. Good question. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Tell you what, when you ask a question, let's get your name, where you're from, and the last 4 digits of your social. I'm just kidding about the last part.
So I just want to point out one of the other dishes that my fellow competitors prepared, which is a lot like a tofu a stew. Although it is suitable to be put right on top of your compost, and it will help everything in it deteriorate within minutes. It's that good. I wish Mitchell a lot of luck, and thank him for inviting me here tonight.
No se preocupe, de Chef Papo. Right, Mark?
Yes. Yes, sir. Oh, sorry.
There are two processes of two ways, or kind of two stages of sharpening a knife. And the first is actually honing the edge, which is done on a sharpening stone. And unless you're really expert with a whetstone, I would have a professional sharpen your knife. But then there's the sort of sexy do it against the steel. And actually what you're doing there is aligning the fine edge. And it's just, pretend this is a pencil and you're slicing down on either side at about a 25-degree angle. And you do it not over the food, but away from the food. Good, great question. Any other questions? Jane. Hi, Jane.
So do you have a recommended crock pot recipe for guys other than chili?
Well, I mentioned the fact in the pulled pork chapter that many people do pulled pork in a crock pot. I also...
I really have no derogatory remarks about my competition other than I hope their parole ends in a suitable way, and I'd like to say some nice things about the judges too. I think they're the finest group of people that I've ever seen in my entire life. They look like they're dedicated to the true art of judging culinary issues, and I hope they take into consideration that I cannot cook, which is one minor thing that probably has made its way and permeated its way into the food that I have prepared this evening. That's pretty much it.
That's what in Latin we would call pachatica food. Right. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, sir. You can pull chicken, and pulling is when you cook a meat well done, even almost overdone, and then shred it with a vinegar sauce. Okay. You can pull lamb, chicken, pork. Great question. Tofu, I'm not sure about yet. Great question. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I have repeatedly failed, Jim Allen from
Yes, Jim.
repeatedly failed to come up with a good fall-off-the-bone barbecue ribs recipe. Do you have that in the book?
I do have ribs in the book, but I think the problem is the way you're framing the question. Okay? Because in my opinion, my humble opinion, ribs should not fall off the bone. They should have a little chew to them. That is why God gave you teeth. So when you eat a fall-off-the-bone rib, it's probably either been boiled or baked to within an inch of death. And I like to indirect grill a rib or smoke a rib so it has a little chew to it. Yes, sir. Follow-up.
Today in the Wall Street Journal was
We're very happy to be participating in this taste fest. Even though my specialty is tofu, we gave Mitchell Kaplan the Tofu Award, and we're cooking up some really nice New York strips that should be fabulous.
From my angle, I couldn't see.
Nice, Papito. Everything's coming out good.
Along with Frequent Flyer Miles on that book. Yeah, I think smoking is hot, and it's getting even hotter. I have a school on barbecuing and grilling called Barbecue University, which I teach at the Broadmoor Resort in Colorado Springs. And we just finished up yesterday. Yesterday was the graduation of the second class. They did an amazing job. And one of the things we smoked yesterday is we smoked mayonnaise to be spread on grilled corn. So I think we are about to take smoking places where you never even dreamt it could go. Great question. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
So, I used to be a neighbor of yours, by the way.
Oh, my goodness. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Great.
So, do any of your, have you ever heard of Brunswick stew?
Of course.
And no one here in Miami can find it here.
Right.
What is the deal with, why is Brunswick stew so regionalized?
Well, first of all, let's talk about what it is. And it's basically it's a meat stew. It often has wild game, Brunswick stew, and it's associated with the Carolinas. And I personally believe, I love regional food, and I love the fact that there are foods that you can only find in one state and not in another state. I was sitting next to a guy today, and he was asking me, well, where do you go for barbecue in Miami? And my response was, when I want barbecue, I'll wait till I'm in Texas or North Carolina. And when I'm in Miami, I want to eat tropical food and seafood. So I don't know a place that serves it locally. Does anybody else?
Can I answer that real quick? It's an FDA approval issue. If you're talking about game, you can't really, you can't sell that commercially. Which is
so squirt.
Most restaurants have. They can't. That's why you don't find any venison or anything like that on the menu here. I'm originally from Europe. We've got a ton of rabbit, venison, you name it. It's all on the menu because it's all okay. The FDA is. It can't control it, therefore you can't get approval, you can't sell it.
And I think especially squirrel is probably even kind of a more possum squirrel. Great question, thank you, and nice to see you again. Any other questions?
Do you ever have luck with a stovetop smoker?
I do, and I'm going to cover that. Does everybody know what a stovetop smoker is? So it looks like a rectangular metal box. And you put sawdust in the bottom, then there's a little rack, and it's actually great for hot smoking salmon. And I will cover that in the book. It's pretty exciting because, grilling, live fire cooking meat with fire is the world's oldest cooking method. But I'm going to bet that smoking is the second oldest method because sometime 1 million years ago or 1.5 million years ago, somebody discovered that if you sit around a smoky fire, if it's smoky enough and it burns your eyes enough, it also drives the mosquitoes and bacteria away. And I think that, smoking gives you a double barrel delivery. It's benefits. It gives you great flavor, but it also has antiseptic properties. Great. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Quick one. Do you have a preference for briquettes versus like the hardwood?
I do.
Charcoal?
I have a very strong preference for natural lump charcoal. But usually the debate in grilling is sort of framed. It's sort of framed between gas versus charcoal. And for me, the most superior fuel is wood, just straight wood. Does everybody know the difference between a briquette and a natural lump charcoal? So basically, little history digression. Henry Ford was manufacturing Model T Fords, and he had a lot of wood scraps left over from the manufacturing process. So he had read about this process whereby you could grind up wood scraps and coal dust and borax and sand and petroleum binders, and you could stamp them into these pillow-shaped briquettes. And he actually started a company called the Ford Charcoal Company. And I hadn't heard of it either, but he did have a relative whose last name was Kingsford, and he sold the business to Kingsford, and it took off. So why do I like natural lump charcoal? Why do I prefer it to briquettes? Because briquettes, you don't like it to give off an acrid flavor. Whereas natural lump charcoal is pure. Okay, but what's the disadvantage of natural lump charcoal? So briquettes are designed to sort of burn at about 600 degrees, and they kind of stay at 600 degrees for about an hour. Natural lump charcoal starts out real high and it drops off. Any other questions?
The man's going indoors.
Yeah,
Is,
yeah.
is there some type of grilling that can be done that you would
Indoors.
for indoors besides your boiler or something?
Well, and I'm glad you asked that question because I do want to point out that this book is a pretty radical departure for me, almost as radical as my last book, which was a love story. It had nothing to do with barbecue. But at any rate, so indoor grilling, it's, grill pan is one way you achieve your marks. Broiling, it's okay, it's not my favorite method. But if you want to cook a great steak, just get a cast iron skillet screaming hot. Brown the steak on both sides, then put it in the oven. That's one of the dishes I'm demonstrating in the 30 cities I'm traveling to this month and last month, and it's called a skillet steak, and you put a half a head of garlic and a bunch of rosemary in it, and it's just a fantastic way to cook a steak. So did I answer your question? Sort of. Yes, ma'am.
Hi.
Hi. You know, it's really interesting that most of the questions are coming from women tonight. Good.
Well, I think it's a good idea to do something with guys.
Yeah.
I was going to ask something. I don't know whether you're familiar with Jamie Oliver.
Sure, of course.
Well, I think that he has started, like getting guys also involved,
Yeah.
which I think is great. So my question is, on the fire, gas or this in Boston, or what is it, the new one?
Infrared.
No, not infrared.
Induction.
Induction. Sorry,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, you mean for stove top?
For a stove, what?
I'm an old-fashioned guy. I like gas because I
You
like
like
to see a
gas.
flame. But in the course of doing morning TV, I've been working with plenty of induction burners too. So, last week I had an amazing experience last week, and at Barbecue University, one night we did a class for the local chapter of the Wounded Warriors in Colorado Springs, and they were just fantastic guys. We drank beer, we cooked meat, and just talked about all kind of stuff. And one of them sort of cited I guess it's the Marine motto, which is what? It's improvise, adapt, and overcome. Improvise, adapt, and overcome. I thought those are, if I were to rewrite Man-Made Meals, that would be the epigraph of the book. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Hi.
Hi.
Quick. Beef brisket.
Yeah.
How in the world do you get it to taste good, even if you don't have like a proper barbecue pit?
Okay, that is a great question. And on page, I don't know, do we have a copy of the book somewhere? I guess we ought to have a copy of the book here. Great, thank you. I forget what page, we'll look it up. But the treatment I like to do on it is French bistro treatment, where you braise it for half a day in red wine. You fry up onions and shallots and bacon and mushrooms, and then you braise it in red wine until you can just sink a fork into it. So that's really fun. And by the way, there's a brisket renaissance going on in America right now. I just got back from 3 days in Texas, Austin one day, Houston one day, Dallas one day. And by the way, also, if you think being an author on tour is glamorous, try a week of waking up at 4 o'clock to catch the 5:30 a.m. flight to the next city to do morning TV. But the briskets are amazing. They are just, you want to fall on your knees when you eat them reverentially. And it's also capitalism at work in the best possible way it could ever be. Because all these guys will start with like $500 cooking out of the back of their station wagons, and they'll make enough of their brisket to buy a Airstream trailer, and they'll do that for a while, and then they'll buy a brick and mortar storefront. And just in city after city after city, they're making it happen. Great. I'm sorry. Whose book is this? Thank you.
We're back.
Okay, now hang on. We'll come back to that in one sec. Alan, would you please introduce the judges? Well, everybody knows.
Okay. Well, I'm Alan Susser, Chef Alan. Linda Gassenheim is our judge and also a wonderful cookbook author and very talented person in the kitchen and beyond.
Miami Herald columnist, Linda Gassenheimer, from Dinner in Minutes. She has a wonderful recipe in tomorrow's food section on wasabi-crusted salmon. If you don't subscribe to the paper, you should go buy a paper just for this recipe.
And Ben is the new food editor for the Miami Herald.
Okay, so can we see, actually, wait, hang on. Let's clear off the tables. So everybody can be told. Okay. And Mitchell has come up with a bribe. Okay, let's clear the table so we can see the masterpieces. Hang on just a sec. Oops.
So we have to garnish.
Okay. By the way, you notice we work clean and pure here. We had a bottle of Purell too. Okay, let's clear off our presentation table. Gentlemen, are you just finishing up on the final garnishes?
Yes. Good talk.
Okay, I tell you what, that fresh cilantro doesn't have a prayer. Mitchell! Wow!
What in the world?
Okay, and wait, let's line these up, and then we want each contestant behind them, and you have to tell us what the name of your creation is. Okay.
Irving, can we have some small plates to share to here a little bit?
Sure.
You don't have to run, but maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's line them up. Let's line them up so we can see what we have here.
Let's do whatever.
Yeah, let's line up.
Mitchell, come on in here.
Okay. So, good. Okay. Notice everyone's using the same triangular plate, so there are no advantages on the flatware here. Okay. All right. So, please tell us what your creation is.
Irv,
tell us what you made here.
A nice New York strip steak, very seasoned very nicely, simple, with some skewered shrimp and zucchini and onions and mushrooms, and I think the judges will find it very tasty.
Very good. And with a New York accent to go with it. Very
Miami
nice.
Beach accent.
Oh, okay. Well, that's New York, right? The sixth borough of New York.
Exactly.
Okay.
mine is very simply a beautiful chamber day. Just very simply. A lovely cut of meat that has been seasoned, and a little bit of heat on top, and a skewer with some shrimp and some lovely, great vegetables.
Beautiful. Great. Joel?
Mine is simplicity itself.
Okay.
It's just simple tofu, a little bit of mushroom, and a little bit of red pepper, seasoned very, very, very conservatively with a nice bottled something that I pulled. And to make things even that much more interesting, the judges have 3 glasses of wine that I gave them, and I want to tell you a little bit about Chef Allen's new book. And of course, Linda Gassenheimer is one of the great
Okay, well, that's good. A bookseller, a true bookseller. Okay, and finally, Ed? Come on stand by your creation here, probably.
It's got a radius around it that people shouldn't get near. I'd like to begin by saying that these judges are the finest looking people I've ever wonderful folks. I call mine the Not Ready for the Outback Special. And it's a strip steak with some shrimp and an awful lot of pepper.
Okay. If you don't mind, I just want to I think these are spectacular, and I'm just glad of one thing, that I'm not a judge tonight, because I think it would be it would just.
Or your book might get full.
Okay. Good. Thank you. No, gentlemen, thank you really so much. This was great. Okay. So I think now you have manned up and cooked, and you all have manned up and cooked too. Great. So now we're going to judge, right? And it's a very, very tense moment here. Yeah. Oh my God. So they're submitting it to photographic appraisal here. Thank you. Now remember, so they're judging on appearance, on presentation. They're judging on creativity. And they're judging on taste. The 3 criteria. And originality. How are the judges doing it? I think the judges are going to, if I were doing the judging, I would have a 1 to 5, 5 being the best in those 3 categories. That is creativity, appearance, and taste. And then whoever gets the highest number of points wins. That's how I would do it. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, while we're judging. I am so glad you asked that question, because in the first chapter of Man-Made Meals, there is a section on how to stock your pantry. And it tells you every basic ingredient you should have, from olive oil to sea salt to lemon zest, how to buy soy sauce, fish sauce. Great question. There is also, I mentioned, the flavor basket. There's also an equipment guide that tells you all the equipment you need. Thank you. Any other questions?
You're watching too much.
Yes, sir.
Alright, you said it was bad getting up when you were traveling to Texas at like 5 a.m.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? When there's barbecue at the end of the day, it's not bad. Yeah, you know, I don't normally pull rank, but I sort of sat at the family table at all the places, so it wasn't so bad.
What was your favorite in Austin?
In Austin, honestly, this is a little iconoclastic. I thought the barbecue. The barbecue was the best. Okay, and then I thought neck and neck were Mickle Waits and of course Aaron Franklin, who got it all going. But I didn't. You can't have a bad meal in Austin if you try. I'm sorry. What's your name?
Adam.
So Adam was referring to the fact that at 8 o'clock in the morning, people line up at Franklin's Barbecue La Barbecue to wait until 11 o'clock when they actually start serving. Which leaves me, the question, leaves me wondering, does anybody in Austin work? Great. What's your favorite in Austin?
La Barbecue. Now, I went to college there, so I spent 4 years. That was before any of the whole barbecue revolution happened. But back then it was Salt Lake.
Salt Lake, yeah. I've been kind of in this field, the live fire cooking field, for 20 years, and I feel like there has never been a better time in history to eat barbecue than right now. And it's not only in Texas where you'd expect it, but Portland, Oregon, Brooklyn, New York, Salt Lake City. I mean, it's just great barbecue sprouting up all over. Yeah. Yeah, which one? Well, of course. That's only because they're on the brain, because that's where I've been. But it would be a grave omission not to mention Tennessee with its tomato-based barbecue sauce, and Kentucky with its barbecue mutton, right, with black barbecue sauce, and Alabama with its barbecue chicken with white barbecue sauce. And heck, why not, while we're at it, Sheboygan, New York with its grilled brats. Yes, ma'am.
How long did you work on the book?
So, Man-Made Meals was a 4-year project. It was a long.
Did you have to test all of the recipes?
I did, and I'll tell you a little bit about the testing process. I write recipes from my head, and then I'll sometimes do them, but I have a crew that tests them, because you can't test your own recipes. You will always fudge them and make them work, whether they do or not. And you'll think the results are felicitous.
Do you have a favorite from the book?
You know, it's sort of like if you're a parent, you have a favorite child, and on any given day you definitely do, but in the big picture. But I'll tell you a couple I really like, okay? I love the Deconstructed, Reconstructed shrimp cocktail, right? Because shrimp cocktail is always so boring, and this one is seared with spices, and it's just a super great. And I love the Skillet Steak, and I love, let's see, there's a bacon sundae that's pretty cool. I like that one a lot. Coffee crusted pork loin. You know, it's hard to choose. Any other questions? Okay, so that comes from Decatur, Alabama. Big Bob Gibson's is the place, and supposedly he had a customer that was allergic to tomatoes. So he made a barbecue sauce that was equal parts mayonnaise and vinegar with a lot of black pepper. Where's that? A lot of black pepper. Yes, sir. I do. Because mayonnaise is just too fattening and artery clogging. You could use sour cream or low-fat sour cream. You could whip up tofu into a puree and add the flavoring to that. You could use creme fraiche. So, yeah. Mashed potatoes. What about what? You can make your own mayonnaise, and it's super easy, and there's also a recipe for that. Basically, you put eggs and without the shells in a food processor and just dump in oil. 6-second process.
Since we talked about
Yeah.
how far do you go in your quest to find growing vegetables and
Yep. Yeah.
At what point is it enough?
I don't think we've gotten there yet. No, I mean, obviously, we all have constraints, and I mean, even I sometimes will use a gas grill because, I come home from work and I'm hungry and I'll do it quickly. I would say that you be as pure as you can, but, we live in a real world. But if you're asking about me personally, I'm pretty much a made-from-scratch kind of guy. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. I'm not going to weigh in on that. Do I freeze dry? You mean like herbs and spices? No, I don't. Although I do freeze coffee, which they tell me not to do, but I believe it works better. But the whole thing about spices is quick turnover. And, if you've got spices that were above your stove purchased during the Carter administration, it's probably time to replace them. Any other questions?
Yes, over there.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
I know over the years many different forms.
Yeah.
What attributes should I be considering when I'm purchasing my new
Gas or charcoal?
alas, gas.
Okay, no. Like I said earlier, do not be. Okay, so one thing you want is, I think you want at least 3 burners. I mean, you have a certain presence in the community, so I can't imagine Stet having a wussy grill. Yeah, so I would actually like to see if Stet, I don't see Stet, but I would actually like to see him have a 6-burner grill, like a Summit or Twin Eagles. Just be ready to catch him when he sees the price tag. You got it. By the way, folks, my website is barbecuebible.com, and we cover a lot of, and we answer all of those questions. We have a really cool newsletter called Up and Smoke. And last week the subject was on beef ribs, and it was finally trying to sort out the anatomy and the different cooking methods for beef plate ribs, or beef long ribs, or beef short ribs. So if you haven't been to the site, please visit it. Please sign up. And if any of you want to follow me on either Facebook or Instagram or social media, it's S. Raichlen or Stephen Raichlen with a little @ sign. Every day there's a post of some new dish I've eaten. Any other questions? Yeah.
What's the best salmon?
Salmon?
Yes, for the grill.
Okay, so for me, we only eat wild salmon, and we only eat it when it's in season. And right now happens to be Copper River salmon time from Alaska, and it's amazing. Otherwise, either king or coho salmon. Any other questions? By the way, our judges, how you doing? You got it? Just coming? Not yet.
About 1 minute away.
1 minute away. Excellent. Any other questions? One time for one more question, maybe. Well, if not, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you. You're never too old to learn something new, and that's what I love about this business. And for years, everybody know what plank salmon is, where you cook salmon on a cedar plank? So for years, I've been writing and doing to soak the plank to keep it from catching fire. Well, at Barbecue University, we accidentally left some on the grill, and they got scorched and burnt and singed at the edges. And we cooked the fish on that, and it was about 10,000 times better than the old soak method. So now I'm using seared plank salmon. Dry it out. I mean, you just put it on the fire, direct grill, dry until it's singed and smoky at the edges. Then you put your fish on, then you indirect grill it. Good. So live and learn, right? Cool.
Are you, even though you're not soaking your cedar, because cedar's not really a good smoking wood. It's
Yeah.
a lot of,
Yeah. Like any softwood,
exactly,
yeah.
like any softwood.
Yeah.
Would you recommend going to a different plank if you're scorching it, or would you still stick with cedar?
No, cedar's great, scorched, but also, I mean, you can use maple, cherry, alder, oak. Yeah. Any other questions? Great questions, by the way. God, I love this. Yeah.
became your most famous recipe, and if so, how did that change?
Well, for a certain point of my life, it was the probably the best known, and I didn't invent it. I just want to go on record saying that it was invented by some good old boys from Texas or maybe Louisiana. I first saw it at the Memphis in May International Barbecue Contest in 1996. And but I was the one that brought it to the American mainstream. I wrote about it in the New York Times. They titled the story "So a Chicken Walks into a Bar," and then I demonstrated it on Good Morning America. But I didn't invent it. But I'm pretty sure, and there's some people that claim, oh, I was doing that 40 years ago. I'm pretty sure it was invented pretty close to 1996 because an idea that cool, you can't keep secret for that long. Judges?
We are ready.
So the judges have a winner. Okay.
Okay. This was not an easy task.
Very close.
Unbelievable. We had to sit here and eat 3+ steaks and being watched and maneuvered about, and no pressure from anybody over there, which was very nice.
No, we appreciate the wine.
Appreciate the wine and the.
Nothing was bad.
Yeah. No, truthfully, lots of good talent, lots of creativity going on. It was not easy. It's a neck and neck battle, but there was a winner. Okay, so guys, you got to come up to the front so we can announce a winner, please. Give us. Okay, so I'm going to come up to the front here.
But in a way, you're all winners for having.
Of course. Guys, can we have a hand? And also for the expertise advice.
Yes.
Steve, unbelievable. Okay. And just before we do announce the winner, if you are watching out there, you can call the bookstore because this is being aired all over the world, and you can get Stephen's brand new book.
Personalized. Just
Personalized.
by calling the number on the screen.
There you go.
It's like a telethon.
Can't they buy it here too?
No, but not if you're up there.
Yeah. All right. So we do have a winner to announce.
First of all, is there an appellate process?
Wow. All right. Mark is the winner. Very daring. Thank you.
I'm humbled. I will forego my remarks and remind you that the number is on the screen for you to buy the book.
Thank you, Stephen. It was a great evening, and I want to thank all of you for coming. But we got to thank this guy for doing all the great stuff. I just want to say one thing. I personally, just because I know he's watching, I want to dedicate this whole evening to my 10-year-old nephew, Aiden, who's watching from New York City, who is a cook. He only wants a set of knives for his 5th grade graduation. So there you go.
And I believe there are actually tastings from the book.
There are. You want to talk about that earlier?
Yes, in just a few minutes, we're setting up the table outside, little tidbits from Steve's book, and I think everybody will enjoy it. The bar is open for drinks, wine, beer, soda.
And when you buy a book, you get a tidbit. No.
Yes, Mr. Bezos.
Hey, we got to keep these things going somehow. And Stephen will be available to have your book signed as well.
That was great. This week is the one they're